Hey, hey, welcome to Fox 5 News Live. I'm Caitlin Pratt in for this 11 o'clock hour. Thanks so much for streaming along with us. We have a lot to cover today. Hope you're staying warm wherever you are. We want to take you out and start in Decatur, in DeKalb County first this hour, where weather may have played a part in what our reporter Ray Urano is seeing there at the scene, a pipe bursting in a local elementary school. Wow, how are things looking? How are the kids? Good morning.
Good morning, Caitlin. Right now, we are following up on that tip that we got from a concerned grandparent into our newsroom just this morning that says that a pipe may have burst at Snapfinger Elementary School. That's near Decatur, just outside of Decatur, in DeKalb County Public Schools. We have reached out to a spokesperson with DeKalb County Public Schools, but we have, and they're checking on that tip for us. But I want to show you all some of the video that we got a little bit earlier this morning. And just to start, we got Skyfox drone video that shows several school buses that were lined up with students in front of that school. We also did see a plumbing crew that is on scene. They have been here for the last few hours or so. They looked like they were checking some sort of main shutoff valve that's on the property. We haven't seen a whole lot of activity from where we are standing in front of the school. We can't really see into the back of the school, but we have seen that plumbing crew out front here at Snapfinger Elementary School since earlier this morning. We're still working to learn more about the situation. Like I said, a spokesperson for the school district is checking on that tip for us to make to see if these children were taken out because of a busted school pipe, and we'll be sure to let you know, Caitlin, when we find out.
Hey, Urana reporting for us live on the scene there in DeKalb County, where students have returned for a first time since leaving school on Friday. Never a dull moment there. All right, staying on top of us for us. Thanks so much, Ray. And we want to switch gears now and talk about something else making headlines this morning. That is for sure. Georgia senators trying to stop some ICE funding. The local opposition to the immigration enforcement efforts continuing to grow. And picking up the story for us with all those details, Fox 5's Mark Teichner.
The senators feeling pressure from their constituents who are trying to get them to hold firm in the efforts to block ICE funding.
ICE is a rogue agency.
A small protest on the 17th Street Bridge in Midtown Atlanta calls on Senator Jon Ossoff to block funding for ICE and Border Patrol immigration enforcement efforts.
They have absolute power. They have immunity. They can do whatever they want to do. They're snatching U.S. citizens out of their cars, out of their homes. They're not being checked. They're a threat to our democracy, and they must be stopped.
The weekend shooting death of protester Alex Preddy in Minnesota has stepped up pressure on Democratic senators to filibuster a funding bill that includes Department of Homeland Security immigration enforcement dollars. Senator Ossoff said in a statement, quote, "Americans left, right, and center are shocked by the Trump administration's abuse of civil liberties and police state tactics." Fellow Georgia Senator Raphael Warnock is also a no vote, saying on social media ICE is, quote, "killing Americans, detaining children, trampling our freedoms." If the Senate fails to pass the $1.2 trillion funding package, a partial government shutdown would begin Saturday, impacting a number of agencies, including the Department of Defense. Democrats are trying to get Republicans to separate DHS funding from the rest of the budget bill, allowing most of the government to remain in operation. But so far, Republicans have said no. Even if the government shutdown does go forward, the enhanced immigration enforcement will continue. That's because ICE has a $75 billion slush fund that it was given during last year's big, beautiful bill that was passed. And if they ran out of that cash, well, they could still keep the agents out on the street and just not pay them. Reporting from the Atlanta ICE field office in downtown, I'm Mark Teichner, Fox 5 News.
Mark keeping us up to date there, and we have some other top stories to tell you about this Tuesday morning developing out of Atlanta's Midtown. Let's begin there. An underground fire, did you hear about this? Causing a transformer to blow last night. It knocked out power to more than 2,000 people in this neighborhood. Around 7 o'clock last night, maybe you can recognize the scene here. This is 11th Street, Crescent Avenue, right outside the sugar factory. Now, Georgia Power telling us all of this was caused by some sort of equipment failure inside one of the buildings there. That is an office area, residential area in that vicinity. Now, bystanders telling Fox 5 they heard an explosion and said a nearby manhole cover was blown off as a result.
When I left about an hour ago, there was nothing. When I came back after groceries, there was 4 fire trucks. There was about 6 police cars and blocked everywhere. I can't enter from this side, so I went on the back side. It was blocked. There was, and then I went further back on the other side. There's also blocked. For all corners are blocked, so there was no way entry.
What was going through your mind when you saw all of that?
I thought at first yesterday we had power outage, so I thought it was the same thing. And then I said they would allow residents, so I went and talked to the police, and they say, no, you can't come in. And they said it's an emergency. They don't say what it is, but they say it's an emergency.
And so now that you heard it's some kind of explosion, like what's going through your mind now?
I'm kind of concerned actually. What explosion? I mean, you don't see anything on the surface. So if it is underground, who knows? I mean, that's why they're here. So hopefully they take care of it.
Anything else you'd like to add or something I forgot to ask you?
I'm glad they're here, so I don't have to worry about it. But I just want to get home. I'm tired. I want to go to sleep.
Oh, I bet. Well, thankfully, no one hurt, we're told, as a result of that emergency. And turning now to another story, we've been tracking a teenager involved in a high-speed chase. This is in Fayette County, take you south from the city. This is at 100+ miles per hour, according to investigators. You're looking at that dash cam video from officers on the tail of that person behind the wheel. A teenager, 17 years old, they say, is named Taylor Simpson. That car you're looking at, they say, was actually stolen. And it ended up, this chase, this pursuit, ending really in dramatic fashion with the car crashing, rolling over, and that teenager remarkably able to walk away. He's alive. Yeah, he's facing felony fleeing and attempting to elude charges, as well as theft by receiving. And by the way, there it is. Woof. That 17-year-old does not have a license to drive. Very lucky indeed. All right, let's keep going here. We have another story we are following this hour. Police in Woodstock investigating a deadly shooting after an 18-year-old, they tell us, was killed at the Riverstock Apartments. This is on Arnold Mill Road. That victim, they have identified him, Matthew Milner, died at the hospital after medics rushed him there. Now, still a lot to work out as far as this situation is concerned. Cherokee County deputies, along with GBI agents, they're helping Woodstock police as far as this investigation is concerned. Authorities, yeah, they haven't said whether anyone has been arrested. We don't know the circumstances leading up to this incident at all. We'll keep you updated, though, as we do indeed learn more. And turning now to another story, Atlanta-based, but also entertainment-based. The Blind Side actor Quentin Aaron has been hospitalized, is now apparently fighting for his life after falling at his Atlanta home. Now, TMZ breaking the story about this. Aaron's manager telling us the actor was put on life support due to a severe blood infection. He, of course, starred in the Oscar-winning film alongside Sandra Bullock, playing former NFL offensive lineman Michael Orr. Aaron currently in stable condition right now, communicating with loved ones, receiving care. This is all according to his manager. There has been already a GoFundMe set up to try and help with some medical bills. All right. A lot of changes for the Falcons this month. We're going to take you out live for an update with the Fox 5 sports team. For now, though, we're going to take this short break. We'll see you soon. Welcome back to Fox 5 News Live. So glad you are streaming with us this hour. We have a lot going on this Tuesday morning, including what you're looking at or about to look at, a NTSB hearing regarding, hard to believe this happened 1 year ago, right? A crash between two aircraft. We're talking about a Army Black Hawk helicopter and an airline jet. This was right near Reagan National Airport, January 29th last year. 67 souls killed. The NTSB also expected to be laying out some recommendations to make sure this never happens again. Let's go ahead and listen in together and see what they're saying.
Take that runway because of its shorter distance. Okay. I know you had are there any other ways that a controller can offload going to runway 1 other than runway 33?
Sure, there are mitigations that a controller can apply, whether it's speed adjustments, some sequencing. They can even give turns. I know the chair mentioned tromboning, which is something that occurs out in the radar airspace. But turns and speed adjustments can, but they're not as effective. So they use 3.3 most often because it works very well.
Okay. And I know you had a very good presentation on the slot program and the front end loading and back end loading and all that. My final question for this round here is, we put this all together. What impact does a higher arrival rate than an airport can sustain, less alternatives to offload traffic due to larger aircraft, and compressed airline scheduling have on air traffic controllers?
It increases all of their workload and increases risk.
And it also makes them have to do squeeze plays and make it work?
A lot of mitigation activities.
Okay, thank you.
Member Evan.
So in that regard, we heard some testimony earlier that the local controllers stated they were a little overwhelmed about 15 minutes before the actual crash. Then we also heard that 90 seconds before the volume had actually increased. how does the controller get out of that situation?
The controller could have asked to have the positions decombined.
And I guess from a practical point of view, you've got people that are in the tower working at that moment, and then you've got people that are in a break room that are several floors below. Is that correct?
Correct.
So if I'm 90 seconds, my volume picks up, and I say I need help, how long is it going to take to get somebody up there to help them?
It could take minutes, but he could also rely on the assistant local control and also the operations supervisor to act as extra set of eyes and to assist in any way that they could in terms of monitoring traffic until somebody could get up there for relief.
But the assistant local controller was already supposed to be the other set of eyes, right?
She was an extra set of eyes, yes. Had she known that the controller was overloaded and needed help, she also could have potentially stopped writing down helicopter information and also started monitoring traffic for him if he felt that there was an area that she needed to focus on.
And in this case, the role of that supervisor is to be monitoring all of this. Is that correct?
Yes.
So what role did they have in monitoring this? They were on station for 4 hours, and I know we kind of talked about that, but in this case, the supervisor should be the one who starts to realize it before anyone else, right?
Yes, which is why we recommended the threat and error management training, which we believe would help with that, as well as a risk assessment tool that they can use in real time.
So was that supervisor the one that actually received it out of the 5?
He received a workshop with that same name a year or two before. I think it was 2014. So it was technically before the 2017 response that we had from the FAA. So we don't know what was included in his 2014 training.
And so it sounds like he's been around for a long time.
He was hired in 2011.
Okay. I guess how does someone monitor whether a supervisor is actually actively supervising?
There would be no one there, I guess, in real time monitoring the supervisor.
So there's no real way of knowing that these supervisors are actively engaging unless it's brought up in other reviews. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. I'm going to go to, just, and this is for a reference for later, I've got a reference that we can pull up, and I don't know if we need it. I think, Brian, 14 CFR 91.123, whenever it talks about ATC clearance obtained. Great, thank you. It says no pilot in command may deviate from that clearance unless an amended clearance is obtained and an emergency exists where the deviation is in response to a traffic alert and collision avoidance system resolution advisory. So I guess my question is, in that regard, we're going to talk about TCAS and ADSB later, but in this instance, if they had gotten some type of warning, the pilots, could they have made any change? Or does it have to be what ATC actually tells them?
Now, the pilot is always in final command of the aircraft, and in that case, I think we're talking about a traffic advisory or a collision avoidance alert to them with resolution advisory, and in that case, it meets that exactly where they will respond to that and they can break away from that clearance.
Okay. And we may get to that in the next section. Do we know what the ATC scope showed at the time that this incident occurred? Because I know we've had discussions about whether it rounds up and rounds down.
Yes, air traffic altitudes displayed on radar are rounded to the nearest 100 feet. And at the time of the closest time to impact that we can see there, the helicopter was shown at 300 and the CRJ was shown at 200. Wait, I got that wrong. Hold on. Let me check that. We can look and check on that, but essentially we believe the CRJ showed above the helicopter, but the helicopter climbed right just before impact. It showed a climb from 200 to 300. I do know that.
Okay, so we can go on the next round. You can maybe answer that for me if that's okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. I want
to, well, one, I've been asked a lot about staffing. Obviously, we felt that the tower, you determined the tower was adequately staffed, though certainly the workload was significant given positions were combined. But I do want to provide, I asked the staff to check based on September 29th, 2025 versus, today. I think we looked at January 5th, 2026 and what those numbers were. And I'm just going to go for, certainly there are more authorized positions, but I think I'm going to focus on who was operational, meaning numbers of people available to work and that are working in the tower, not what's authorized, but that are working on the tower. And so, by the draft report shows for certified professional controllers on January 29th, operational was 25. Today, 20. Traffic management coordinators, they had 2, today 0. Operational. Operations supervisors, 4 on that date. Today, or as of January 5th, 3 operational. Operations managers, 1 on January 29, 2025. Just a few weeks ago, 2. Support manager, 1 at that time, now 2. Air traffic manager, still at 1 temporary, was what existed on January 29, 2025. Today, still 1 temporary. Staff support specialists, although authorized to have 3, there are 0. So by my calculations, you actually have a lower number of personnel today that are operational in the tower than existed on January 29th. It's not a question, it's just we provide that in the report, and so we're not going to talk about it, but I want to make sure that folks are aware of that. Certainly there are several trainees in the process.
And we have been listening live together to an NTSB holding a public board meeting. We've been listening in together, trying to pinpoint the causes of a deadly impact 1 year ago in D.C. 67 souls killed as a result of that. All right, time to take you back here, closer to home here in Georgia. Switch gears, talk about the Falcons. Man, we're not even at the end of the month, and already so much has happened, we feel like, right? From the president of football to a head coach. And we're going to check in with Fox 5 Sports' Kelly Price live with more on this restructuring and what we can expect today. Good morning to you. Great to see your face, Kelly.
Hey, sorry, I'm trying to get my orientation right here. Apparently, it's not. I don't know. But hey, what's up?
So listen, what are we expecting today? Why did the Falcons wait so long to do this press conference, this introduction for all the Falcon fans?
Yeah, that's a question that a lot of people have been asking. It's been 10 days since Kevin Stefanski was named the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. And today is the day we will hear from him. I'm outside the Falcons locker room in the interview room where we will hear from him at noon. So in just a little bit over, I guess, half an hour now. But that is the question, is why it took so long. I think they might have been hoping that a GM would also be named. Of course, that is still a position that's open for the Falcons. But the biggest thing I think is they wanted to round out the coaching staff. So obviously there's been a number of moves that have been announced by the team formally. Offensive coordinator Tommy Rees is coming in. That was Stefanski's offensive coordinator in Cleveland. Jeff Ulbrich, the defensive coordinator, is remaining with the Falcons. He was the defensive coordinator last year. He saw a lot of success with some of the young guys on the defensive side of the ball this past year, setting a franchise record in sacks and a lot of other really cool statistics that he brought to the helm last year. And then they named a special teams coordinator as well. So, and of course, the assistant coaches underneath those, offensive line coach, all these different assistant coaches coming in. And I think the biggest reason they waited was to make sure that Stefanski had a lot of those people in place so that he'd be able to speak to them today.
And as a Falcons fan, as a reporter here at Fox 5, what are you most interested to hear him talk about?
Yeah, I mean, as a reporter, I think the things that I'm going to try to ask about, if no one gets to it first, is his thoughts on Michael Penix Jr. is a really important situation that he's going to be potentially developing this young quarterback once he returns from injury next season. Something else is, he didn't obviously got fired in Cleveland. He didn't have a winning record there when all was said and done. So what did he learn from that experience? Why is this time going to be different here in Atlanta? Because he's brought back a lot of the same kind of cast and characters, a lot of the similar assistant coaches, a lot of similar people around him he's bringing here to Atlanta from Cleveland. So those are two of the main things that I definitely want to try to ask about today.
And this decision, Kelly, we've had time to marinate in it. You said it's been 10 days, right, since we first learned about it. Any surprises, that you've seen as far as reaction from fans, from sports pundits, things of that nature? Any surprises that you've seen and reaction-wise?
Something I've been a little surprised to see, and I think is a little bit of unfair criticism, is a lot of fans didn't love how he handled the Shedeur Sanders situation, who was the backup quarterback in Cleveland for a time. He was a 5th-round pick, obviously coming out of Colorado, Deion Sanders' son, lots of attention on him and his kind of fall in the draft. And he didn't really start until later in the year this past year in Cleveland. So that is something that I think a lot of fans here in Atlanta didn't love how he handled that situation. And is he going to be able to handle a young quarterback and develop him? But he's done that a number of times he's worked with 15 different quarterbacks, and I could list them all, but it's an insane list if you kind of go back and look at some of these names. 15 is so many in such a short amount of time to have worked with in Cleveland, because obviously they've had quite a carousel of quarterbacks compared to even here in Atlanta. So I think that's something that I've seen a lot of chatter about online that I think it's a little bit unfair criticism, but I'm sure he'll be asked about it today and he'll have a chance to maybe talk about that situation.
It's really fun, Kelly, to just be talking and as you set the stage for what we haven't heard or seen quite yet. What's it like? Do these things usually go long as far as these press conferences, or what's the time frame for it?
I'd imagine it'd be less than an hour. We're also hearing from Arthur Blank and Matt Ryan, who's the new president of football here with the Falcons. So it won't just be Stefanski that we hear from. So I think there's going to be a lot of questions of those guys as well, like the process of getting to Stefanski. Why was he the right pick? How's the GM search going, which I said is still ongoing. So I would expect under an hour, but you never know. Sometimes these things can go long.
Do we know anything? You mentioned GM. Do we have any names floating out there? What can you tell us about that?
They've interviewed a number of candidates over the last couple of weeks. Ian Cunningham from the Bears, he's an assistant GM there. He's been kind of a name that's been linked to the Falcons from the very beginning, but no, leader in the clubhouse if it's not him.
All right, setting the stage for us. Kelly Price, always great to see you, and we'll look forward to your report on Fox Local later on today and on Fox 5 News. Have such a great Tuesday.
Of course. KP to KP.
And you are looking live, yes, at the home of the Falcons, and those blue skies. Ooh, child, those look positively chilly, my friend. And don't blame the messenger. We like to say that, right? This Arctic air.
They look delicious.
They look delicious. You are so crazy. I love you so much.
Just like you, girl.
I know. We're a pair together. Oh my! So listen, let's rewind to this morning. You guys told us about it. I was sort of prepared, and I was still shocked, right?
It's one of those kind of things. How can you really prepare for it? Because we are in the South, and temperatures rarely drop down to 14 degrees, but we did it this morning. We hadn't done that since January 22nd of 2025. So if we get a serving once a year, we'll take it. We got our belly full this morning. Let's take a look at the boards. High pressure is now in control. That pesky front that brought us a whole lot of annoyance and aggravation over the weekend, somewhat wet, somewhat wintry, is now out into the Atlantic. And then you have another front that is headed in our direction, and it doesn't bring with it any moisture for us, but it will bring in and open the door for another round of Arctic air to move through. So, just to let you know that you are not alone, look at these single-digit temperatures, not wind chills, up across the upper Great Lake, seeing Great Plains.
Missouri loves company, don't we?
It does. Look at that. There's only one place in this map, and I said this yesterday, that I'd rather be in. That is down there in South Florida where the temperature is 60 degrees. I'm really thinking about making a move.
Ooh.
28 there in Miami. No, 28 here in Atlanta. I wish it was in Miami. Let's take a look at the numbers. 28 degrees in the city. Outside the city, it looks like 28s are coming from Athens to Covington. 27 in Noonan and Griffin, 30 in Thomaston, 23 in Dalton. Okay, but the wind chills, they tell the story. It still feels like it's 16 degrees here, feeling like 11 in Canton, 19 in Blairsville, 23 for Thomaston, 20 in Noonan. Will we feel better as the day goes on? Well, yeah, but it's relative. By 3 o'clock, it still feels like it's freezing at 32 degrees. We can push those feels like numbers just a hair or two above the freezing mark, but it's just going to be frigid all day. It looks delightful outside, but looks are deceiving on today if you're looking from your window. The winds that we've been dealing with over the past 24 hours will continue to whisper a bit into the overnight hours and through the day tomorrow. Those wind gusts should stay below 20 miles an hour. Tonight's low temperature, 25 degrees. That's a true 25. I don't think the winds will be as present, but it can make it feel like it's around 20 degrees. By Wednesday afternoon, you'll notice a cloud or two, but we're trying to poke our heads above the 40-degree mark once more. And if we don't do it today, we'll definitely do it tomorrow. But I think today's a real possibility. 45 degrees for a high temperature on your hump day. Here's a look at your Fox 5 Storm Team 7-day forecast. Groundhog Day coming Monday, but the weekend, it's looking a little sus. It's more of a flirt than an outright, like, straight up. You know, you could ask someone out. Be bold about it. Be straightforward.
I love it.
Be a man about it.
Winky face.
This is like, hey, I don't know.
Just no eye contact quite yet. Just kind of, we'll see.
What's your name?
Oh.
That's what that winter system is giving for Saturday.
Well, I feel like we just need to just decompress from what we've been through the last couple of days, you know, recalibrate, and then we can, you know.
That's what I'm doing. You see how lightly I'm playing.
You're chill, yeah. You know, we're just gonna recalibrate and see what's ahead.
Right.
Oh my
where it needs to be. I'm Bridget.
Do I need to
froze.
Do I need to have my faucet dripping still? Do you think? No, we're good.
No, you're good on that.
Okay.
No need.
All right, good. Jonathan, always great to hang out with you.
Top it up.
Oh my gosh, we shouldn't be allowed to have fun together on the stream. Too funny. All right.
See you later.
And you are looking live across our city, beautiful city, those clear blue skies for sure. Let's see, where are we going next, folks? We are going to talk about how this weather is affecting important things like blood donations. We're hearing from the American Red Cross, who is now warning about a shortage due to these dangerously cold winter weather conditions. And happy to have us joining us on the stream, Garrett Reed with the American Red Cross of Georgia. You oversee the blood drive operations across the state. Thank you for that work. Good to see you. And where are we right now?
So that's a great question. And first of all, hello and good morning. One of the things that we're dealing with right now is an emergency blood shortage. And we are dealing with that here in Georgia, as well as all states across the United States. And a lot of that has to do with the holiday period and some uncollected units in other parts of the country due to over 400 canceled blood drives last month. And then, of course, with the 30-state impact, including right here in our home state of Georgia, with the winter weather that we've had, that emergency blood shortage has really been exacerbated. And so we are really looking to make sure that we have those life-saving units on the shelves for patients, even with all of this weather. And so we're asking our Georgia team to be able to come out and roll up their sleeves to help save lives and replenish those shelves after the holiday period.
Yeah, and you were telling us the blood supply dropped by 35%. Of course, that's putting potentially added strain on anywhere you would go to get blood. We're talking hospitals, delaying life-saving care. 35% is pretty significant, right?
It is very significant. And when we have an emergency need like this, one of the things I like to remind people is the blood on the shelves today is there for the disasters of tomorrow. And when we have winter weather like this, patients don't stop getting sick. So that need is constant. It's a constant demand. And that's one of the great things about my job is I get to make sure we put those life-saving products on shelves. So even with the weather, now that it seems to be much more safe for our Georgia residents to be able to go out and donate, we're asking and urging them to do so that no patient has to have a delayed transfusion during this time.
Now, Garrett, tell us, are there certain blood types that are especially vulnerable that you guys really need right now, and how come?
It's a unique time right now because we need all blood types at this point. So anybody that is watching this, we need your blood type. But there are two blood types that I'm probably thinking about and talking to our hospitals the most about, and that is our O type units, O negative and O positive. We're heavily using those for our trauma patients during this time, as well as sickle cell units. So all of our Black and African American donors across the state are really urged to donate because that demand for sickle cell products is the highest here in Atlanta of any other city in the United States. And so it really puts a lot of focus on those two product types in particular.
Now, if someone is with us, is watching this, what do they have to do to get involved? Like, take us through the steps they need to do to be there and giving their blood.
So we love to make it easy for donors. We know it's taking about 45 minutes to an hour out of their day, and so we make it as convenient as possible. We have about 30 operations we're running a day all around the state of Georgia. So donors are able to go in and make an appointment by calling 1-800-RED CROSS, visiting us at redcrossblood.org, or downloading the app on the Apple or Google's App Store. Those are great ways to make an appointment, find something that's convenient and close to you, and bring a friend, maybe bring a loved one, bring a friend, bring a neighbor, come out, roll up your sleeves, and help us replenish our shelves. I know our patients and doctors across the state would greatly appreciate it.
And Garrett, any closing thoughts about how quickly these donations need to pick up to get you guys stabilized, get that supply stabilized?
Yeah, right now we're pretty much monitoring collections by the hour. We're watching things very closely. We're monitoring it 24/7. But we have an amazing team. We have award-winning phlebotomists here within the state of, to help support blood collections at the Red Cross. So we are really looking at this on a minute-by-minute basis and ensuring that we have all of those products available for our hospitals so that they can provide the best patient care for Georgia residences all across the state.
All right, real-time need. You guys are monitoring. Any last thoughts, Garrett, before we let you go?
The only one thing I would say is one donation could save up to 3 lives. I like to think when I donate about the people in my life who have been affected by blood. 25% of our blood products go to cancer patients. I think everybody can think about that and someone that they know. So I always like to make it personal and think about the people I impact when I donate. It's a really great motivator to go out there and make a change, but I urge everybody to come out and make an appointment and help us replenish our supply and support Georgia patients.
Garrett, thanks so much for explaining it in real words and real talk. We appreciate you. Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. And we want to take you out to some breaking news. Just into the Fox 5 newsroom, a judge, we've learned, has just denied bond for Sarah Grace Patrick. Do you know that name? That's the teenager accused of killing her mom and her stepfather in Carroll County. We've reported about this multiple times. Now, Patrick was able to re-request bond after her court date was denied. A judge just saying that the prior ruling on bond stands. She will not receive bond prior to her August court date. So she will be behind bars until at least August. We will keep you updated on this situation involving that local teenager from Carroll County, Sarah Grace Patrick. Of course, that in the headlines the past couple months for sure. And we still have a lot ahead here on the stream. Maybe you are passionate, right, about your plants. You spent a lot of time, you've spent a lot of money, and this weather, oh my gosh, you're worried about them, right? We have some advice from experts on how to protect them. That's coming up next right after the short break. Welcome back to Fox 5 News Live. So great to be with you. And maybe this Arctic air has really got you worried about all the work you've done, right? Or the work you're planning to do to make your outdoor, your indoor plants look great. And we want to get you updated on some advice. Our photojournalist Chris Rosenthal's in Peachtree City with some real advice from the experts. Hey, Chris, great to see you.
Hey, good morning, Caitlin. Yeah, so I'm at Moon Valley Nurseries here in Peachtree City with, like you said, with the experts here on plants. I know we're all probably worried about our plants out there in the cold, and when the spring comes, we really want them to look nice. So that's why we're going to get some tips here. And I got Jessica here. And Jessica, thanks for joining us today. And first of all, talk to me a little about the science. What happens to our plants when they get cold like this?
Yeah, absolutely. So the tree has done a lot of prep work already. So imagine this, during when we start getting colder, the tree can feel it, and they'll actually start sending all of their energy down to the root system. This is when you're going to notice all of the fall color, all of those beautiful reds and oranges. It's actually the tree taking all of the sugars out of those leaves to conserve them down into its root system. So all of its energy will actually be down there, and it wants to reduce as much water out of its cambium layer as possible. And the reason you want to do that is because for times like this, when we start getting below freezing, it wants as little water in here as possible to prevent any kind of expansion, because when ice, when we get ice, it expands inside the cambium layer, causing vertical cracking. So the tree's done a lot of the work. It's starting to go dormant. It's starting to put all of its energy down into the root system. And that's when we come in to help the trees protect themselves the best we can. So the first thing you're going to want to do when we really get any kind of freeze is prep work before the freeze. So we're going to do a deep root watering. We're also going to make sure when we do our deep root watering that we're using some sort of root stimulant. Right over here we have our moon juice. This is a de-stressor and a root stimulant. It has all the vitamins and minerals that a tree is going to need to really help get through this kind of stressful event. It's similar to us taking vitamin C before flu season. And so that's what we'll do. We'll add our moon juice. We're going to do our deep root watering, and then just to add a little extra layer of protection, we add pine straw on top of the root balls, and that is going to prevent the frost from settling on on top of the first layer of roots, really taking an extra step to protect our trees.
Is that something people could even do now?
Yeah, absolutely. I highly recommend they do it now. If you don't have pine straw, you know, there should be a lot of leaves in your yard. Rake those guys up and put them around the base of your tree to help protect them.
Like a little blanket for them, huh?
Yeah, literally.
Absolutely. And then we have some plants over here. We talk about, you know, these are some of your trees we've been talking about, but what do we do with some of the shrubs and the plants here?
Yeah, so you're going to do the same thing essentially with your shrubs, you know, because plants and trees are very similar. You're going to want to deep root water. You're going to add your moon juice in there. And for shrub material, they are going to be a little bit more sensitive as you see these really fine branches and such. So what we're going to do is actually get a frost cloth. This frost cloth is a breathable material. This is the best thing that is specifically made for protecting plants from the frost, because it's actually not the cold temperature that damages the plant. It's the ice that built on top of the plant.
Gotcha. So we'll put the frost cloth on, and
so we'll cover it just like this.
And we'll be with you a little bit later. There's some more tips as well. So we'll be here at 2 and 3 o'clock as well, and we'll talk over some more advice here on things you can do to keep those plants really ready for the for this cold weather.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Chris, bring me back some of those little sheets. I need some from my garden. It's I'm a little worried about things that are under the dirt there, and I didn't take the correct precautions, but I still have time. Thank you for letting us know how to prep our plants for this bitter cold and get them ready for the spring. Appreciate you, and we'll see you later on Fox Local. And we want to keep talking about this weather. So many of you waking up today in shell shock, right? Sticker shock. There are some warming centers, though, we want to pass on. We'll be keeping track of the free warming centers here in our state. Just added some from DeKalb County to our full list, which you can find on our website, fox5atlanta.com. And this, you see it on your screen here, Exchange Park Intergenerational Center. That's on Columbia Drive in Decatur. We also have Frontline Response International on Gresham Road in Atlanta. That's in the southeast part of Atlanta. St. Vincent de Paul. Yeah, that's on Chamblee Tucker Road, night only, that's important to note. And then Toby Grant Rec Center on Parkdale Drive in Scottsdale. Those are just from DeKalb County, right? We have a ton more centers all across our state for you online. So if you or someone you know will need that information, go ahead, log on, look for the story. You can go ahead and share it with your friends, your family who may need that information, need some extra help. Yeah, for sure. Take a look. And now we want to switch gears, and it's already that time. Tax time. Yes, maybe you started getting those letters in the mail with everything you need to know to get your taxes prepped and ready. The season is officially underway, and this year actually is bringing some changes to tell you about, the biggest changes to the tax code in more than a decade. That certainly has my attention. So breaking down all these new rules, tax expert Lisa Green-Lewis here this morning to talk to us all about it. Great to see you. Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, okay, let's dive right in. What is so different this season that people really need to understand before they file?
The biggest changes people need to know about, you know, they can impact everyone from a parent to a homeowner. According to our survey, 2 out of 5 Americans didn't know, or they knew very little about the new tax laws. But what you need to know is, for parents, the child tax credit increased to $2,200. If you're a homeowner, the state and local income and property taxes that you can deduct, that increased from $10,000 to $40,000. There's some new deductions out there if you earn qualified tips. So if you're a beautician, a rideshare driver, you can deduct tips up to $25,000. If you have work in a service profession like a firefighter or a police officer, there's a new deduction for overtime. You can deduct up to $12,500 in overtime. And if you're 65 and over, there's a new deduction that's $6,000, and that's in addition to the standard deduction.
Oh, so basically a little something for everyone, it seems like.
Yes.
And now, Lisa, are there any deductions or credits people may still think apply, but actually don't this year?
Yes, so there were some that went away. Energy efficient credits. So energy efficient credits for your home, like energy efficient doors and windows, those expired on December 31st. So if you did put them in place, purchase them and put them in place in your home, you can still take that energy efficient credit. But after that, they're gone. And then electric vehicles, that date was a little different. So if you didn't purchase an electric vehicle and receive it by September 30th, then you can't get the credit. But if you did do that by that date, you can still claim that credit.
See, I mean, you have to have this insider knowledge. I feel like there's so many different rules and it changes each and every year. So we appreciate you so much, Lisa. No, I mean, are people leaving money on the table and not even realizing it when it comes to all these deductions?
Yeah, well, the new ones, they are definitely something to be aware of. And then there's ones that every year the IRS reports that people miss. So they report 1 out of 5 people miss the earned income tax credit every year. And for a family with 3 kids, that's up to $8,046 for tax year 2025. So that is a substantial credit.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, my gosh. So we're hearing, you know, file early, file early. Why does that matter, and who benefits most from getting the return in sooner rather than later?
Yeah, so one of the biggest reasons to file early is the refund. The majority of people do receive a tax refund, and last tax season, the average refund was over $3,000. And this year, we are seeing that filers will receive up to $1,000 more in their refund.
Wow. And I don't know if you can speak to this, Lisa, but we're seeing that technology is playing a larger role in tax prep. How is AI changing the way people file and get help this year?
Yeah, with TurboTax, we've redefined tax filing. So we've integrated AI with our human expertise at every step of the way. So we have thousands of experts, and so whether they're reviewing the AI answers to make sure they're accurate or also using it when they help people file. I mean, they already know the tax laws, but they are using it, you know, just so that they can focus more on the customer for those manual duties that they do.
Breaking down these new rules and some insight into what many people view as a chore, making it easier for us all. Lisa, thank you so much. Appreciate you. Happy tax season.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. All right, we still have a lot ahead on the stream, everybody. We're going to head to break and come back with some national headlines. We'll see you soon. And we do want to touch on some national headlines. Another shooting death involving agents in Minneapolis, now raising some questions about Second Amendment rights. Even the NRA is weighing in on this. So what are they saying? They're saying analysis that a man killed by federal officers in Minneapolis was responsible for his own death because he legally carried a gun. They say analysis like that is a dangerous and wrong thing. That person, by the way, Alex Preddy, you've been hearing his name since the weekend. The White House has clarified that the president's support for gun rights is still there, while acknowledging that carrying a weapon during a law enforcement encounter increases risk of something going wrong. Along those lines, more Georgia students are planning to walk out of class today. We're hearing this, protesting ICE in Minneapolis and other cities around the country. Chatter, we're hearing that there may be a walkout planned, in particular at Archer High School, that's in Decula. The principal sent a letter out to parents about it, reading in part, "At Archer High School, we value student voice, are committed to providing a safe, structured environment for students to share their messages." And principal went on to say they're working with student leaders to provide a safe, structured space that does not disrupt classroom instruction. So we will keep you updated on those expected ICE walkouts today here in the metro area. Meantime, we have a lot ahead on Fox Local today, including still ahead, the Atlanta Falcons will officially introduce their new head coach 10 days after naming him. We're going to hear from him and from Arthur Blank as well. And of course, don't go anywhere. The Georgia gang is next. Today, the gang is talking everything from this weekend's chaotic ice storm to the 2026 U.S. Senate race. A whole lot to dig into that. I'm Caitlin Pratt. Thanks so much for joining us for Fox 5 News Live.